Freddy's Fazbear's as a haunted house. Well, I can't fault whoever thought up that idea. I mean, the place was a haunted house. Why not try to get it back to what it really was and maybe make some money off of it? I started hearing rumors about that probably about 4 months before I saw the actual newspaper ad. When I saw it, I actually was just going to dismiss it. The animatronics were gone. Mike was gone. Everything was fine. But you ever get like a tapping in the back of your head? You don't even know why, but somehow you're suddenly on alert. I decided that if there was a position, I was going to go there. Maybe not stay for the rest of my life and join the haunted house industry, but I was going to look and make sure that everything was normal. Well, as normal as it ever got, Freddy Fazbear's. I took a 2-week vacation from my primary job, and I went in and applied. The guy who interviewed me, he was a young kid. He was kind of a surfer dude. There was a lot of hey man and stuff like that. I think what sold him on me was the fact that I had been an employee there, even if it had been over 20, 30 years ago. That place was scary. I'll admit that. Whoever created Fazbear'S Fright, that's what they called it, had done his homework. They had modeled the tiles, the arcade room, everything, but in a very creepy, run-down sort of feel. The job I got was night watchman because, hey, I had experience there. And I also knew that if something was going to happen there, it was going to happen at night. I checked everything as they were building it and everything. A lot of the stuff was fake. You know, Fazbear's Pizzeria eventually was sold off at auction, and nobody had decided they were going to use it as haunted house. Some of that equipment was worth thousands of dollars. There was a Fred bear that was just looks like it had been created out of wires and fur, and it looked like something talented, but a 12-year-old had done. There was a foxy head that the manager thought had been authentic, but it turned out not to be. The biggest thing was the eye. The eye was all wrong. That place was spooky. The manager had told me something that the ventilation shaft in the building, they actually hadn't created it over Freddy Fazbear's original location, which I thank God privately every day. But the ventilation system in there was something wrong with it. It wasn't circulating air enough. That's why the manager told me that sometimes he got spooked in there at night. He said it was low oxygen, but maybe it's the fact that they were trying to recreate something, as I've said before, was just evil. I thought I saw so many things those first few weeks. I swore one time that I saw Freddy lumbering down one of the hallways. I checked, there was nobody there. One time I thought I'd seen Balloon Boy peeking over the counter at me. One time I thought I saw Foxy just sitting in a corner. Hell, I even, while flipping through the cameras, thought I saw the puppet just floating down the hall. But it was all, nothing was there. There was nothing real. There was no danger there. Until I got a call at 11 o'clock in the morning. It actually woken me up. I got off at 6 and was sleeping when the phone rang. And it was the manager, the surfer dude, as I'd begun to call him privately. He was so excited. Apparently, they said they had found one. A real one. I knew exactly what he meant. There was nothing. And he said, hey, did you want to come by and see it? We're just loading it. It's going to be here in about 10 minutes. And of course, I didn't want to, but I had to see it. From what I'd heard, when the animatronics stopped working, they had just been put away somewhere. So how could they have found one? As I drove, I started having ideas that Balloon Boy or that stupid puppet had been found. I wish to God it had been one of those two. When I got there, Surfer Bro and some of the other employees were gathered around. He had the tarp over it like it was a big unveiling, a statue of something. All he said was that they had been given it by an anonymous donor, which I thought was very strange. Who would just do that without getting credit or getting paid for it? He pulled back the tarp and... My first thought was it was a fake. That it was some kind of copy, because nobody in their right mind would ever put this thing in front of children. It was horrifying. It looked like Bonnie, but it wasn't. If I could make a determination, it looked like some sort of Frankenstein's monster. It had the head of Bonnie, it had the body of Chica, it had the teeth of Foxy, and it had the golden coloring of like a golden Fredbear. The coloring is what scared me the most when I saw it, because it looked like that thing I'd seen in my dream. The thing that was just staring at me. That thing would terrify children. It would be taken down the very day it was put up. But here, in a haunted house, it would be perfect. One of the employees asked what its name was, and the Surfer Bro got this like kind of funny smile on his face, and he said that they didn't know who it was officially, but he was going to call it Springtrap. The name fitted. Somebody asked why they decided to call him that, and he showed that this animatronic was actually one of a spring-loaded suit that employees could wear if the fully just animatronic suits ever broke down. And I never heard about that. There was something in my mind. I knew there were costumes because sometimes they had one of the characters come out and hug the kids during a birthday party. But I'd never seen that suit. As I said, it was horrifying to look at. They said they were going to put him in one of the rooms that you were going to walk by, and then suddenly the lights would go on, and there he was, and people would scream and laugh and have a great time. That night, my camera was fixed solely on Springtrap. I was just waiting for him to move. I had never known about this animatronic, but if it would move and it would hurt people, it would be this thing. There was a malevolence about it. Like, you ever hear about that doll that apparently killed a few people and is locked away in some occult museum? It felt like that. It was like looking at it was looking into the face of evil. Didn't move. Not the first night. Not the second night either. But on the third night, there was the audio error. See, the whole point of my role in the haunted house was going to be that every once in a while I would hit a button and a noise would play in one of the rooms, scaring people, jump scare. There was Balloon Boy's greeting, and there was Freddy's song, and all that stuff. One night, as I was watching Springtrap, I suddenly heard Balloon Boy, his voice coming from the arcade. I immediately switched over there, and I didn't see anything. Nothing was moving, nothing was wrong, and I just felt it was some kind of audio error. I flipped back to where Springtrap was. That room was empty. I said once that Foxy ran. He was the only one I ever saw, like, charge. Even he couldn't have moved that fast. I went frantically searching through all the cameras trying to find Springtrap. I couldn't find him anywhere, and I was starting to get very, very scared when I flipped back to the room, and there he was. Standing where he usually had been standing. Was the ventilation off? I started to question it. Springtrap had moved. I had seen him, but the audio error, and maybe I hadn't been taking care of the ventilation the way I should be, and I was seeing things. Wouldn't have been the first time. Knowing what I know now, I should have taken a crowbar, gone right to that room and bashed its head in. Things like this started happening all the time at night. Noises going off, the sound of something shuffling. One time, I thought that I heard a vent above me, like something was crawling around. No, not even something. It was Springtrap. That Springtrap was crawling above me. But every time that I thought I would catch him in another room, he would just be back in that other room. I started not to sleep again. I started having these weird... I mean, they were scary. They still were, but they were very strange. It was like I was playing like a 8-bit video game or an Atari video game of Fredbear, and I was moving around, and there was this purple Freddy who was walking around, and then suddenly I would see Mike in an 8-bit form, but he would still come and he would just tear me apart. The weirdest thing is, I don't even think I was a human in that dream. I think I was a animatronic. Eventually, I'd had enough. I called Tina and told her what was going on. Tina, being the sweet kid that she was, offered to come down off of school, but I told her not to. Honest to God now, I think I was protecting her. I didn't want her involved, not with this thing, this Springtrap. And that's what he was, really. He was a trap. While the other animatronics would walk around, or the kids would try to get into the office, Springtrap was like playing with me. That he was luring me into something. Tina came anyway. I woke to a knock on my door, and there she was. She wanted to come in, and she wanted to see it. Like I said, maybe it wasn't Freddy Fazbear's and it didn't have that same pull, but there was still a pull there. It was... But she came. I asked her where Brad was, and she said that he was at home, but he was here. I think Brad actually had a kind of a hard time. He was okay. He didn't break down or anything, but I think what happened at Freddy Fazbear's actually affected him quite a bit. We were going to go that night. I was going to sneak her in, and we were going to take a look. She said she was going back to her house and getting ready, and then I'd pick her up, and then that would be the end. Should have gone right there. It kind of reminded me of vampire movies, and why do the heroes always decide to storm the vampire's lair right before sunset when it's going to wake up? Why don't they just do it first thing in the morning? I was taking a shower, getting dressed, when I heard the doorbell ring. I went to the door, and there was Brad. He'd asked if I'd seen Tina, and I said, yeah, she'd come by, and he said, yeah, but he had apparently gone out to the store about an hour and a half ago and come back, and she wasn't there. Her car was gone. She had told him what they were doing, and apparently Brad, being scared, still wanted to come. He thought that he hadn't even gone in the house. He just drove to my house. That tapping began in the back of my head again. Something was wrong. Tina was not stupid. She wouldn't decide that she was going to go there by herself. I got dressed, and me and Brad, we drove over there. Honestly, I thought when we opened that door that we were going to find her body. Dead. Message sprawled, written in blood on the wall. She wasn't. Her body wasn't there. But something else had been, because there were signs of a struggle. Upturned furniture, books, and files scattered everywhere, and a broken picture that fell off the wall. Brad, who, as I said, loved Tina very much, went almost crazy. He started going around the house, and I had to physically hold him, saying whatever did this might still be here. Whatever did this. What, did I think that a burglar, a kidnapper had come in? No, I knew. It was Springtrap. I knew it. I didn't know why. But we looked around the house. There was nothing. I looked around trying to figure out if there was a clue or something about what had happened. And then I saw something. Something that was out of place. It was a flyer that we were going to distribute when the haunted house opened. It was going to be a grand reopening, and like Freddy Fazbear's had just reappeared, some stupid little haunted house story. I remember because at the bottom it always said, coming soon. This thing had been ripped apart, leaving only one word. Come. Animatronics that could kidnap people. How did it even get in here without being spotted? We didn't care. We had to get Tina. We went there. It was a little early, but nobody was there. Brad wanted to start going through the entire place, but I said that was not smart. There was too many corners. There was too many places where something could be lying in wait. Let's go to the cameras. Let's go to the office. We can see the whole place and we can find her. We were flipping through, and there was nothing. The arcade was fine. The hallway was fine. The showroom was fine. And then we went to that room, and when the camera came up, Springtrap was staring right at the camera, almost filling the entire frame. Oh my God, I screamed. Brad, who had never seen Springtrap, gasped, and I swear to God, I thought he was going to throw up. That close, Springtrap, I suddenly noticed something, and I wish to God I hadn't, because I wondered, my first thought was, why didn't I see that before? It was his eyes. His eyes were not animatronic, the dull little things they put on cartoons. It was human. There were human eyes looking back at me. What the hell was this? Brad asked if I could talk to him, and I was about to reply I couldn't when I suddenly thought about something. Those eyes. I had seen those eyes before. How? I don't know. To this day, I don't. But as I looked, I said something, which was for my benefit and not anybody else's. Hello, Michael. Guess they stuffed you in a suit just like you did to them. Brad looked at me and I said, they never found his body, Brad. And what would kids do who wanted revenge? They stuffed him in that suit. We came up with a plan. Brad didn't like it, but I told him that I knew all the ins and outs, and he decided he was going to play audio things. Would Springtrap Michael be fooled? I don't think so, but it would distract him. And he didn't know if Brad had been here. I don't think he wanted Brad. I think he wanted Tina and he wanted me. But then again, Brad had actually taken a part in throwing him to those monsters, so maybe he wanted him too. As I made my way through, I could hear voice cues getting to that room. Springtrap Michael was looking at one room, and I scanned to try to find Tina. All I could see was a figure of Foxy, a few boxes, and I looked back at the Foxy. Foxy was breathing. Michael had stuffed her into a suit. At least she was still alive. Springtrap was looking over to his right, and I inched my way over to Tina in the Foxy suit. I was so stupid. He was a trap. He always was. He wasn't fooled by this. As I laid hands on Tina, suddenly Michael turned around and rushed at me and grabbed me. I was fighting with an animatronic, but it was a human. It wasn't as strong as one of them, but it was like a human was wearing a suit of armor. He tried clawing at my face and trying to bite me. I didn't, even in my panic of fighting him, I suddenly realized I wasn't hearing the sounds anymore. And I heard Brad coming. I had to keep Springtrap on me. I looked at him and I spat right in one of his eyes and he growled. I started to take my hand and push on his jaw, and strangely it started to go pretty easily, but then I saw what was in there, and it was Michael. It wasn't even just a skeleton. Maybe that would have been easier, but it was flesh that had turned purple and rotting. Springtrap leaned forward like he wanted me to get another good look at what had happened. But I wasn't focused on that. I just saw Brad over my shoulder. I motioned with my eyes where Tina was, and he went there. He actually started to take a step towards me first, but I shook my head as I still fought. I mean, I was in trouble. There was no doubt about that, but he had to get Tina out of there. As I fought with Springtrap, he suddenly threw me to the floor, and oh God, I'd forgotten how heavy those animatronics were. The suit, I started to lose it, and bringing his face, both of them, the Springtrap and his rotting face towards me, and I kept getting closer and closer and closer. Suddenly, something hit Springtrap on the side of the head, and I looked up, and Brad, Tina wasn't there. He pushed her out, but he'd come right back, and he started swinging something. I don't even know what it was. Maybe a piece of the building? I don't know. But it was enough that I got out. We kept hitting him and hitting him. I even tried to punch him and bruise my hand. But Springtrap wasn't getting hurt. I don't think he could have gotten hurt. I don't think he felt pain anymore. It was then that I saw these exposed wires. Surfer Bro had tried to cover them up. They were a hazard, and I suddenly realized that maybe there was only one thing to do. I grabbed the wires and I started pulling them, and they came out really easily from the wall. And I looked for something that I could ignite, and I saw these papers that were supposed to be all decrepit, and I hit them and they lit up. To look grungy, the place had used oil to cover things, and so everything started lighting up. I took Brad and we ran. We grabbed Tina, who was making her way to the exit, and the place was just starting to go up. If we'd been in there 15 more seconds, we would have burned alive. As we ran out the door, I took one look, and there was Michael in the Springtrap suit. At the end of the hallway, there was no way he was going to get to us. It was an inferno. I saw him. I have never seen such fury in all of my days. He'd been cheated of his revenge walked out and into the night as Freddy's Fazbear's Fright burned to the ground. Police and firemen took 3 hours to douse that thing, and there was nothing left. Police came by, and we told the truth to a point. We didn't say that a zombie had taken over an animatronic and tried to kill us, but we told them that we think that some crazy guy who was dressed up like Bonnie had come in and was trying to hurt us, and he was talking about that it had to burn, and we just made up shit. It's funny how even in the face of terror and tragedy, you can still lie really good. So the police took it down, and maybe they believed us, maybe they didn't. Well, we went back home and just tried to keep living. Tina had told us that she had been in the living room when something had grabbed her from behind. When she'd seen that the arm was an animatronic, she'd fought, and that was where the struggle had gone. But then she said the thing threw her up against the wall, and she'd blacked out. They never found the guy who we said had been there, but I don't know. This is the only thing I never figured out, even though I have some guesses. Because a week later, a black car drove up to my house. A lawyer stepped out from the passenger seat. He said he had heard about what had happened and how deeply sorry that Fazbear Entertainment had been, which I thought that was weird. Fazbear's Entertainment had never been associated with that haunted house. But they said that because of the trauma and everything, they wished to compensate me. And they handed me a check. How much was it? Enough that I never went back to that first job. I took early retirement. I looked in the back seat of the car, and I swear I thought I saw somebody back there looking at me. After I agreed and signed a form, the lawyer went to the back seat, and the window rolled down just a bit, and I could just see the top of gray hair. I think it was Mr. Afton. I don't know. Brad and Tina got the same visit. They're married now. Their kid is about... It's gotta be 2 now. They asked me to be the kid's godfather, the parents did, and I said yes, of course. I just said my only request was they didn't name the kid Freddy. They laughed. Nothing ever happened after that. I think that maybe was the end of the pizza place and every horror that it created. With all my free time, I decided I was going to start researching the Afton family. I found nothing that Mr. Afton was dead. And maybe I just wanted to tell him, thank him and tell him what happened. Maybe he deserved that. I never could, though. He was kind of a ghost. Maybe with all that money, he could have created some security. I did find some things out, though. I found out that William Afton had 3 children. The youngest was that little boy who got bitten back in 1983. The middle child was Michael, who, well, just became the purple guy. And then there was the oldest kid, A girl. I think that family might have been cursed. Maybe that's where it all started. Because that little girl, when she was 7 years old, actually disappeared. I found all the news articles about it, and everybody said she was a very lovely girl, but then again, parents of kids who go missing or who die always think their kid is perfect. But the thing that caught my attention in those newspaper articles was that she was very enthralled by her father's inventions, especially one. It was a girl animatronic. They said she could inflate balloons right from her fingertips, and that she could sing and dance, and she could even serve ice cream. Knowing what I know about those animatronics, I hope to God that girl stayed far away from it. The other thing I found out was, with money you can buy a pretty good security system, which I have, as you can see around this house. Why do I need security? Because as they were going through the wreckage of Fazbear'S Fright, they never found Springtrap, nor even the remains of him. I wonder sometimes if he's still out there, still in that suit. I sleep fine nowadays, but every once in a while, I wonder, did I just hear something outside? Is that a tree outside my window? As I said, he hasn't come back so far, and hopefully, maybe he's out there searching for something too. Hell, maybe he's searching for his father too. You want to know about those 5 kids who disappeared, don't you? No, I'm not a mind reader. I just know that most people who come and talk to me want to talk about those kids. That was a horrible summer. I mean, I know kids have disappeared in other places, but so many kids in one area, and they were never found. But to tell you really the story of those 5 kids and what happened to them, I have to tell you about my first summer job.